A very good evening. Uh, Please ask your friends, your club mates to join. We'll start in the next 2 minutes. Thank you. enthusiast and a courageous snake rescuer. Her commitment towards the conservation and protection of wildlife is truly remarkable. She actively participates in snake rescues operations and consistently works towards spreading awareness about wildlife preservation and ecological balance. Her dedication, bravery, and service mindset make her a true role model for all of us. Beyond her Rotaract commitments, Madhushree is a passionate wildlife enthusiast with unique calling. We all call her as she's a snake catcher with a brave heart and deep love for this. I would like to welcome Rotarian Madhushree Sridharmoorthy.
Thank you, Shivata. Should I start or do we have to wait for a few more?
You can wait for another 2 minutes if you would like to.
Sure, okay. I mean, just let me know when I can start and I will start.
Sure. Today's session is going to be an exciting and interactive one, and we have a fantastic speaker. Let's start. Over to you, Madhushri.
Okay, thank you so much. I will quickly start. Okay, I hope all of you are able to see the presentation. So, if you guys are not, like, just let me know. Y'all can stop me anytime in between to let me know that y'all are not able to see something that I'm actually talking about. Thank you, everyone. I will start. Good evening, everyone. A very warm welcome to all of you joining us today. My name is Madhushree S, and I'm absolutely delighted to be here with you for this session on one of my favorite topics, the incredible world of birds. Before we begin, I just want to make a small request. If you have any questions as we go through the slides, please do make a note of them, and I will have a dedicated question and answer session at the end where I'd love to address all of them. So, today we're going to take a journey into the fascinating world of birds, from understanding what makes them unique as a class of animals to exploring the spectacular diversity we have right here in India, as well as outside India for all our friends who are joining from Nepal and Sri Lanka. We will talk about their adaptations, their ecological importance, the threats they face, and what we can do to protect them. This session will roughly run for about 40 to 45 minutes, followed by a Q&A session of 15 minutes. So please stay with us till the end of the session. Okay. So what exactly is a bird? So birds belong to the class aves. They are warm-blooded vertebrates, which means they can regulate their uh, own body temperature, just like us. What makes them truly distinctive is the combination of three things: their feathers, the beaks, and the wings. Now, here's a staggering number. There are approximately 10,000 species of birds found across our planet. That is a remarkable diversity. From the tiny bees, hummingbirds, which weighs less than a 2 rupee coin, to the enormous ostrich, which can weigh up to like almost 150 kilograms. The range is extraordinary. What is most fascinating is how well birds have adapted to virtually every habitat on Earth, from the scorching deserts of the Sahara to the frozen tundra of Antarctica. They have colonized forests, wetlands, grasslands, coastlines, and even our cities and towns. This adaptability is really the secret to their incredible success as a group of animals. Birds are truly the engineering marvels of nature. They have evolved three extraordinary sets of adaptations that set them apart. First, let's talk about the flight of the birds. Birds have lightweight, hollow bones. This reduces their body weight dramatically without compromising strength. Combined with their specially designed feathers and powerful chest muscles, they can soar, they can glide, they can hover, and dive with remarkable efficiency. The albatross, for example, can glide for hours without flapping its wings, covering thousands of kilometers over the ocean. Second, we come to their vision. Birds have some of the most sophisticated eyes in the animal kingdom. Many species can see in ultraviolet light, colors completely invisible to us. Eagles have vision approximately 8 times sharper than that of ours. They can spot a rabbit from like 2 kilometers away. Imagine being able to see that clearly. Third, let's talk about their communication. Birds use an astonishing variety of songs and calls, each with specific meaning. Songs are typically used to attract their mates and establish territory. Calls are used for alarm signals, contact with flock members, and coordinating group movement, and also to communicate with their young ones. Some species, like the parrots and the miners, can even mimic human speech and other sounds. I think all of y'all may have seen videos of parrots actually mimicking humans. So, miners also add to that category. These three adaptations, which is flight, vision, and communication, work together to make birds extraordinarily successful survivors. Now let's look more closely at the anatomy of a bird, the physical structures that make flight and survival possible for them. As you can see on this diagram, a bird's body is beautifully designed for its lifestyle. Let me walk you through the key parts. The beak or the bill is not just for eating. Its shape tells you a great deal about what a bird eats. A hooked beak means a predator. A long, slender beak suggests a nectar feeder. A short, stout beak is perfect for cracking seeds. The wings are the primary flight instruments, but wing shape varies enormously. Long, narrow wings are for speed and sustained flight. Short, rounded wings provide maneuverability in dense forests. Now let's move to the tail. The tail acts as both a rudder and a brake essential for precise steering. So, like we have the steering wheel on the car, it's in the same manner the tail plays that role for a bird. And they also are used for controlled landing. Now, let's move to the feet. The feet are also highly specialized. Perching birds have three toes, forward and one behind, for gripping branches. Raptors have powerful talons for catching prey. Ducks have webbed feet for swimming. Even the feathers serve multiple purposes: flight insulation, waterproofing, and display. A bird may have anywhere from 1,000 to 25,000 feathers, depending on the species. Understanding this anatomy helps us appreciate just how perfectly engineered birds are for their environments. If you see the bird on the left, please keep this in your mind. We can go back to that slide later when I talk about it, but just remember the colors and this particular bird on the left here. Okay. Now, beyond their beauty and diversity, birds play absolutely essential roles in maintaining the health of our ecosystems. So, let me highlight two of the most crucial roles that birds play. First, pollination. Just like bees and butterflies, many birds are important pollinators. Sunbirds, hummingbirds outside India, and honey eaters transfer pollen from flower to flower as they feed on nectar. In Asia, sunbirds are the primary pollinators of many tree species. Without them, these trees simply cannot reproduce. The next one is seed dispersal. This is perhaps even more significant. Birds eat fruits and then fly distances, sometimes hundreds of kilometers, before depositing those seeds in their droppings. This is how forests regenerate and spread. The great hornbill that you can see on this slide here is a master seed disperser in the forests of South and Southeast Asia. A single hornbill can disperse seeds of over 200 plant species in a year. Birds also control insect populations. A single pair of insectivorous birds can consume thousands of insects daily, protecting crops and forests from pest damage. Remove the birds, and the entire ecosystem begins to unravel. This is why bird conservation is not just about saving those pretty animals, it is about protecting the systems that sustain all life, including our own. Without birds, we are nothing. And now, let us bring this closer to home, to our own incredible country. India is one of the world's most important centers of bird diversity. We are home to over 1,300 species of birds. That is approximately 13% of all bird species on Earth, right here in our country. What makes this even more special is that over 130 of these species are endemic, meaning they are found nowhere else in the world. Species like the Indian peafowl, the Nilgiri flycatcher, the Malabar trogon, the Jordan corsa, these are India's exclusive treasures. This extraordinary diversity exists because India has such a wide range of habitats: the Himalayas, the Western Ghats, the Gangetic Plains, and the Thar Desert, the coastal wetlands, the Andaman and Nicobar Islands. Each of these habitats supports a unique bird community. For those of us here in Bangalore, we're actually very, very fortunate. We are positioned near the Western Ghats, one of the world's 36 biodiversity hotspots, which harbors an exceptional concentration of endemic bird species. However, this diversity comes with a responsibility. We must protect it. The slide mentions over 130 endemic species, and many of these face serious threats. Conserving India's birds means conserving India's natural heritage. So now let me now introduce you to two of India's most iconic birds. The one on the left is the Indian peafowl. The other one on the right is the great hornbill. Most of us refer to the Indian peafowl as the peacock, but it's actually called the Indian peafowl. So, the Indian peafowl is our national bird and one of the most recognizable birds in the world. The male peacock strain, that spectacular display of iridescent feathers with eye like patterns, can measure up to 1.8 meters in length. These feathers are not the tail, but actually elongated upper tail coverts. The peacock's display is a masterclass in evolutionary biology. Every single eye on those feathers is a signal of genetic quality. The peahen, which is the female version of the peacock, evaluates these displays carefully before choosing a mate. Research has shown that peahens prefer males with larger, more symmetrical trains. It's as good as how we humans choose our partners. They choose their partners and they have their specifications. Peacocks are also remarkable survivors. They eat almost anything, are highly alert to predators, and can even fly short distances despite their large size. Now, let's talk about the great hornbill. This magnificent bird is found in the forests of the Western Ghats and Northeast India. It can grow up to 130 centimeters in length and is instantly recognizable by its enormous yellow and black casque, the structure on top of its bill. Just above the beak, the structure that you see is called the casque. The hornbill has a fascinating nesting behavior. The female seals herself inside a tree hollow using mud bark and droppings with only a small slit remaining. The male feeds her through this slit for the entire incubation and chick rearing period, which can last for 4 to 5 months. The great hornbill is also the state bird of Arunachal Pradesh and Kerala, a testament to its cultural importance. And if any of you wish to see the great Indian hornbill nesting, please do visit Kaziranga. It's a beautiful sight for anyone. Do not miss it. Now, let us look at two other magnificent Indian birds, which is the sarus crane and the Indian roller. The sarus crane, this is a bird of superlatives. The sarus crane is the tallest flying bird in the world, standing up to 1.8 meters tall, which is almost as tall as 6 feet. When a pair spreads their wings, the wingspan can reach almost 2.5 meters. The sarus crane is deeply embedded in Indian culture and mythology. It is considered a symbol of marital fidelity because pairs mate for life. They stay together until one of them dies. This behavior has made them sacred in many rural communities where farmers actually protect them and their nests. The sarus crane is found mainly in the wetlands and agricultural fields of northern India. Uttar Pradesh has the largest population. Sadly, their numbers have declined significantly due to habitat loss and wetland drainage. The sarus crane is also the bird that has been referred to couples who are at the verge of actually breaking their relationship because they have the best courtship in the world. The Indian roller. Now, here is a bird that will make you stop in your tracks. The Indian roller is famous for its spectacular aerial acrobatics during the breeding season, rolling, tumbling, and dividing through the air, flashing brilliant blues and turquoise as it goes. So, the bird that I asked you to remember in the previous slide is this exact bird. So, that's how magnificent it is when it actually spreads out its wings. It is the state bird of Karnataka. So, for those of us here in Bengaluru, this bird holds a special place. It is also the state bird of Andhra Pradesh and Telangana. The Indian roller is commonly seen perched on telephone wires and bare branches, watching for insects and small lizards on the ground below. So, if ever someone asks you which is the state bird of Karnataka, proudly say it's the Indian roller, also called the Neelakanta in common language. Okay. Now let me share some facts that I find absolutely fascinating and I hope you will too. The SARS crane's size. We mentioned this briefly, but let me put it in perspective. At about 1.8 meters tall, a SARS crane stands as tall as many human adults. When you stand next to one in a wetland, it is a truly humbling experience. They're not just tall, they're also incredibly graceful. The peafowl's remarkable ability to mimic predators. This is one that genuinely surprises people. The Indian peafowl can mimic the calls of tigers and leopards. When a peacock senses a predator nearby, it gives an alarm call. And remarkably, other animals in the forest, including the deer and the monkeys, respond to those calls as genuine warning signals. The peacock has essentially become an alarm system for the entire forest community. Bird migration in India. India is a crucial destination and transit point on several major migratory flyways. Every year, hundreds of species travel thousands of kilometers to reach India from Siberia, Central Asia, and even parts of Europe. Flamingos arrive from the Run of Kutch. Amur falcons fly from East Asia. Bar headed geese across the Himalayas and altitudes of over like 7,000 meters, the highest migration of any bird on earth. These are not just fascinating facts, they are reminders of how interconnected our planet's wildlife truly is. So let's move to migration of the birds. Migration is one of the most extraordinary phenomena in the natural world. Let me explain why it matters so much. Every year, billions of birds actually undertake incredible journeys, crossing oceans, deserts, and mountain ranges. They navigate using the Earth's magnetic field, the position of stars, the angle of sunlight, and even smell. It is a feat of navigation that we still do not fully understand. But why do they do it? The answer is basically very, very simple. The answer is the resources. Birds follow the seasonal availability of food. When Siberian summers produce an explosion of insects, water birds, and waders rush there to breed. When winter returns and resources disappear, they fly south to warmer, food rich destinations like India. This creates what ecologists call a trophic cascade. When migratory birds arrive in India's wetlands, they control insect populations, provide nutrients through their droppings, and support local food webs. India receives about 500 species of migratory birds every year. Places like Bharatpur in Rajasthan, Chilika Lake in Orissa, and the Sultanpur Flats near Delhi become temporary homes for millions of migratory birds. Interestingly, for those of us living here in Bangalore, Alsur Lake, Belandur Lake, when it is in better condition, and Hesargata Reservoir attract many migratory species each winter. Even our Rangantittu is one of an example for such migratory places. You don't have to go far to witness this spectacle. Let me walk you through the annual migration calendar, which really is a year round event. Spring migration, which lasts from Feb to May, birds begin moving northward, heading towards their breeding grounds. Many species that have wintered in India begin their journey to the Himalayas or beyond into Central Asia and Siberia. This is when you see spectacular movements of raptors over hill stations. Fall migration is from September to November. The reverse journey begins. Breeding is done and the birds head south again. This is typically when India sees the largest influx of migratory water birds. The migratory patterns, what is remarkable is that most species follow the same routes year after year, often returning to the exact same wetland or even the same tree, which is why it is very, very important for us to not encourage urbanization, to not encourage fragmentation of the forests. Young birds learn roots from their parents on their first migration, so this is memory for them. So even if there's urbanization at that particular path, the birds will still go past it because that is the path that they've actually taken to move or migrate from one place to another. Conservation efforts. Protecting migratory routes called flyways is a major international conservation challenge. Wetlands along flyways are critical stopover points where birds rest and refuel. Draining even one important wetland can affect millions of birds. The next is global awareness. International initiatives like the East Asian, Austrasian Flyaway Partnerships, and World Migratory Bird Day, celebrated in May and October, are building awareness about the need to protect these incredible journeys. So it's not just protecting or conserving birds within our country, but it is very, very important to do it outside of our country as well because we have migration from here to other countries, from other countries to India. So, very, very important across the globe. Now, let us talk about one of the most visually spectacular aspects of bird behavior, the courtship display. Like I spoke to you earlier, the Saris crane is a very, very good example for courtship. As you see in this particular picture, when the male actually calls, the female also calls. The male lifts one leg, the female also lifts the other leg. The male flaps the wing, the female will also flap the wing. That's their coordination. Birds have evolved some of the most elaborate, dramatic, and downright theatrical courtship behaviors of any animals on this earth. And it all comes down to one fundamental principle demonstrating genetic equality. We humans should learn from them. The Saris crane, which you see on this slide, performs a breathtaking dance. Pairs bow together, leap, and call together in a perfectly synchronized duet. This display helps strengthen the pair bond, which, as I mentioned earlier, can last a lifetime. Other remarkable examples include the peacock's fan display. The male spreads his entire train into a shimmering fan and vibrates it rapidly. The rustling sound and the visual spectacle are designed to be irresistible to peahens. The paradise flycatcher. The male has a long, flowing white tail streamer that it displays in midair, dancing through the forest like a white ribbon. The Bengal florican, a critically endangered species, found in the grasslands of northern India, performs a spectacular aerial display where the male leaps into the air, flaps its wings, and spirals downward. These displays are not just beautiful, they are honest signals. A male that can maintain spectacular plumage and perform complex displays is demonstrating his health, his genetic quality, and his ability to provide resources. For bird watchers, witnessing a courtship display in the wild is one of the life's greatest privileges. And also, just to mention a little bit about the Great Indian Hornbill, the Great Indian Hornbill is also one species which has the same partner for life, and the male has to actually fetch for her favorite seed or fruit or a particular snake, and only then she is impressed with the male and then agrees to carry forward family with her. Now, let us explore one of the most fascinating survival strategies in the bird world: camouflage and mimicry. Camouflage is not just about matching colors, it involves patterns, it textures, behavior, and posture. The nightjar, for example, roosts on the ground during the day and is practically invisible. Its mottled brown plumage looks exactly like dead leaves and the bark. The Indian bittern, when alarmed, stretches upward and sways gently in the wind, mimicking a reed in the breeze. The owl you see on this slide is a master of camouflage. Great horned owls and similar species blend perfectly into the bark of trees. They can sit in plain sight for hours and remain completely undetected, which makes them extraordinarily effective nocturnal hunters. Mimicry in birds takes several forms. Vocal mimicry: the hill myna and the common myna can mimic human speech, other bird calls, and even mechanical sounds. The shama, one of India's finest songsters, incorporates elements of other birds' songs into its own. Structural mimicry: some species mimic the appearance of dangerous or unpalatable species. Certain harmless birds develop color patterns similar to species that predators have learned to avoid. Brood parasitism: the common cuckoo is perhaps the most famous example. It lays its egg in the nest of another species, whose chicks then raise the young cuckoo. The cuckoo egg often mimics the host's eggs so precisely that the host cannot detect the deception. These strategies reveal extraordinary complexity of evolutionary arm races between predator and prey. For example, the common drongo mimics different sounds of predators, and they do so only to kind of move away their predators, or in certain cases they do not get food to eat at such point in time when the predator prey of bird of prey is actually eating its meat. It wants to eat the meat, and the only way it can actually move it away is by actually mimicking the bird of prey. So this is how they use their mimicking strategies as well as camouflaging strategies. Now let's move into the nesting habits. The diversity of bird nesting strategies is as extraordinary as the diversity of bird species themselves. So let me take you through some of the remarkable nesting habit behaviors found in Asian birds. At one extreme, we have the buyer weaver, a small bird found across the Indian subcontinent. The male constructs an incredibly complex retort-shaped nest from grass strips hanging from the tip of a palm leaf or reed. The construction process is so elaborate that it can take 2 weeks, and the male builds multiple nests to impress potential mates. The female inspects several before choosing one. At the other extreme, some birds make minimal effort, like the Indian courser, simply scrapes a shallow depression in the ground, lines it with a few pebbles, and lays its eggs, which are so perfectly camouflaged that they are almost impossible to find even by the bird of prey. The hornbill's nesting behavior, which I mentioned earlier, involves sealing the female inside a tree cavity, a remarkable strategy that protects eggs and chicks from predators. Cliff nesters, like the crag martin, build mudcup nests on sheer rock faces. Colonial nesters, like the painted stork, gather in huge groups, sometimes hundreds of nests in a single tree, which provides safety in numbers. What is common to all of these strategies is the fundamental goal: maximize the survival chances of the young ones. Every aspect of nest design, placement, and timing has been refined over millions of years of evolution. Okay, now understanding how birds communicate through sound. Bird song is one of nature's most beautiful phenomena, and it is far more sophisticated than it might seem to us. Scientists distinguish between songs and calls. Songs are typically complex musical sequences produced primarily by male birds during the breeding season. They serve two main purposes: attracting a mate and defending a territory. Calls, on the other hand, are shorter, simpler vocalizations used for immediate communication. Examples include alarm calls, contact calls, begging calls from chicks, and so on. The Indian bushlark featured on this slide is a wonderful example of a species with complex vocal behavior. It sings in flight, pouring out a continuous stream of varied notes while hovering high above its grassland territory. What is truly remarkable about bird song is how it is learned. Young birds are not born knowing their full song, they learn it by song, listening to their fathers and neighbors in a period called the critical learning window, much like how human children learn how to speak their own mother tongue. Different populations of the same species can even develop distinct dialects, regional variations in song that are culturally transmitted from generation to generation, very, very similar to that of we humans. Some remarkable facts: a brown thrasher in North America can produce over 2,000 distinct song types. The nightingale song is so complex that it contains over 200 different phrases. Birds can recognize individual neighbors by their unique vocal signatures. The next time you hear a bird singing outside your window, remember you are eavesdropping on a sophisticated communication system refined over millions of years. And mind you, guys, if you are anywhere around Malnad and you hear a human whistling, please be wary that most of the times it's not a human whistling, but it is the bird, that is the Malabar whistling thrush, that's actually whistling. And now, let's turn to a more sobering topic: the threats that first birds can face today. Habitat loss is the single greatest threat to bird populations worldwide, and the numbers are alarming. A 40% decline in bird species globally. This is a statistic on this slide, and it should stop us in our track. We are talking about billions of individuals, birds disappearing from our planet within living memory. What is driving this? Urbanization, like I earlier said, agriculture, intensification of farming, large monocultures, heavy pesticide use, removal of hedgerows and field margins has removed the diverse habitats that birds depend on. And again, fragmentation is often as damaging as outright loss. Populations become isolated from each other, reducing genetic diversity. The edge effect exposes interior forest species to new pressures from predators and competitors. In India, wetland drainage is particularly devastating. Millions of migrant waterbirds have lost their wintering grounds as lakes are encroached upon and drained. Again, now moving to the impact of pollution on birds. Pollution in its many forms poses a grave and often invisible threat to birds. Pesticides are perhaps the most insidious problem. The threat of illegal hunting. The illegal wildlife is the fourth largest criminal enterprise in the world, and birds are among its most trafficked victims. Bird conservation efforts in India. Despite the challenges, there is genuinely good news. India has a strong tradition of bird protection and conservation, and it is getting stronger. Protected areas in India have been increasing and has an extensive network of national parks, wildlife sanctuaries, and conservation reserves. Okay, now what we as Rotarians or Rotractors can do in bird conservation. What can organizations like us do to make a difference? The answer is a great deal. Organizing awareness days, Rotary clubs are perfectly positioned to organize birdwatching awareness events. Imagine a Rotary led birdwatching walk in Cubbon Park or Lalbagh or any park around the place that you guys are living in. It's just bringing together families, students, and community members to discover the birds on their doorstep. Events like these achieve multiple goals simultaneously. They educate participants about local biodiversity, they foster a sense of connection to nature, they build community, and they are genuinely enjoyable. World Migratory Bird Day, which is in May and October, bird day events, and National Bird Day, January 5th, are natural pegs for organizing such activities, supporting conservation projects. Rotary's strength lies in its ability to mobilize resources and connect communities. Partnering with local NGOs like Supertails or any such examples, organizations like the Wildlife Conservation Society India, Bombay Natural History Society, or local bird clubs, Rotary can fund and support projects that protect endangered species and restore habitats. This could include supporting wetland restoration, funding anti poaching patrols, contributing to vulture feeding stations, or sponsoring educational programs in rural communities around protected areas. And I think one of our sister clubs, Rotaract Club of Swarna Bengaluru, has probably carried about vulture awareness, and they do this as a flagship event every year. The Rotary Foundation's global grant mechanisms can also support larger international conservation partnerships. Every Rotary member is a potential ambassador for bird conservation in their community. So, guys, please let us join hands to actually make this happen. If any of y'all need help, we are here to help you. So, please feel free to give us a call and say that you guys are interested. So these are some of India's state birds. Like I mentioned earlier, the Indian roller is the state bird of Karnataka, Andhra Pradesh, and Telangana. The state bird of Arunachal Pradesh and Kerala is the great Indian hornbill. The hill myna is the state bird of Chhattisgarh and Meghalaya. So if any of you actually do not know your state bird, please look it up and find out, because I am also very naive to few other states. These are the birds that I know. So, getting started with bird watching for those of you who are very interested. So, bird watching is one of the most accessible, affordable, and deeply rewarding hobbies you can take up. And you can start right after this session, which is tomorrow morning. Here's how to begin. Start local. You do not need to travel to a national park for your first bird watching experience. Your garden, or your apartment balcony, or your neighborhood park, all of these are full of birds waiting to be discovered. Bengaluru alone has over 350 species recorded within the city limits. Go early. Birds are most active in the 2 hours after sunrise. This is when they sing, feed, and are most visible. Set your alarm an hour earlier than usual. The rewards are worth it, guys. And also, just to let you know, whether it's birds or animals, they actually follow the sun to be their clock. Ideally, that's how we humans were earlier, but I think we have just made it, we've just extended our clocks. But the birds and animals depend on the sun for their wake up, their sleep time, their eating time, and their napping time. The next, use binoculars. Initially, it would not be required, but as you go and it interests you, use binoculars. A good pair of binoculars transforms your experience. You do not need expensive equipment to start. Even like a basic 8 by 42 binocular will reveal details invisible to the naked eye. Look for the field marks, the distinctive features that identify each species. And then observe carefully. Before reaching for your field guide, spend time simply watching. Notice the bird's size. Is it sparrow sized, crow sized, or eagle sized? Notice its shape, long bill or short, long tail or short. Notice its behavior. Does it hop, walk, or climb? These observations will basically make identification much, much easier. Keep notes, a small notebook where you record what you see, date, location, species, behavior, will enrich your experience enormously and provide a personal record of your journey. Birdwatching is a gateway to noticing the natural world in a new way. Once you start, you will never look at a tree or a body of water the same way again. We live in an incredible time for bird watching because technology has given us tools that make bird identification extraordinarily accessible. Merlin Bird ID is an app that is free for downloading on any smartphone, either whether you're using an Android or you're using, iPhone, iOS app. It is available, and this is developed by the Cornell Lab of Ornithology, and it is genuinely brilliant. It works in three ways. You can either do a photo ID recognition or like a sound ID recognition or a guided ID. So, photo ID, simply take a picture if you're able to and then upload it, and it'll give you the name of the bird. So, the next time you see the same bird again, you will be able to identify it likely. The guided id is, like I said, like ensure whether it's like a sparrow sized bird or like a duck sized bird, and you can choose the size of the bird, and post which you can choose the colors that the bird had on it, and then you can choose where the bird was actually sitting, whether it was in the bush, it was walking on the ground, whether it was in the water. And post that, it'll give you a list of birds from where you can actually select that which bird you actually saw. The sound id is simply record the sound or the call of the bird that you're able to hear, and once the voice of the bird is recorded, Merlin Bird ID will simply put out the name of the bird, and next time you hear that bird again, look for it because you already have the picture of the bird through the Merlin Bird ID. This is the simplest way that you can actually do it, and this makes bird watching very, very easy, guys. eBird, which is your birding companion, alongside Merlin, they both have like an integration that the Cornell Ornithology Lab has built in. So once you've actually recorded your bird, you can get back to eBird and look for the information of the bird, the flight details, the wingspan, like the habitat, the behavior of the bird, and all of that. And every time you start going for birding, there's a list that you can create. Just open eBird and start recording that bird that you're starting to see. So eventually your knowledge or your recognition of bird gets so much better over time that you feel very happy about yourself. To be very honest, like I have started birding only in the past 1 year, and today I am actually able to recognize at least a minimum of 50 species of common birds that are around us. So, the essential tips that I could leave for you, new birders, here is be patient and quiet, respect nature, dress appropriately, because sometimes when the color of your dress is extremely bright, it actually like confuses the bird to mistake you for a predator. So try and wear neutral colors, which is very nature loving, or like that blends with nature. And then if you can join a local birding group, like in across India there are multiple birding groups, and not just India, I think even when I was in UK studying, there were like multiple birders who had like their local birding groups. So I'm pretty sure across the world there are a lot of birding groups. So join any of them that you are comfortable with, and they keep throwing out these bird walks. Join them and keep a field guide. So next time, your field guide could actually be Merlin Bird ID, which can actually give you details of the birds. But if you are someone who is more comfortable with physical book, then you can always keep a field guide, like Sali Mali Birds of India, or Birds of the Indian Subcontinent, Birds of South Asia, any of the book which you feel is easier for you to go back to and refer. Make it a habit, like on a daily basis, to kind of just step out of your house, just like listen to the sounds, like early in the morning you could hear the chirping of the birds, just for 15 minutes every day. Do this activity and you will see how happy you start to feel, and also how, bird watching pulls you towards it. It's more like a magnet that keeps attracting you. And it is not bird watching is not competitive, it is very contemplative. So it is about noticing, wondering, and connecting with nature. So now I this is the end of the session. So as we approach to the end of our session, I want to step back from the science and the facts, and speak for a moment about what birds mean to us beyond their ecological value, and what they actually bring to us through their behavior, or through their colors that they carry, or through everything that they're gifted with by God. So, first thing, faith and freedom. Birds have been symbols of freedom in cultures around the world for as long as humans have looked upward. The ability to fly, to transcend the boundaries of the earth, has always captured our imagination. Nature's inspiration. It is no coincidence that the Wright brothers studied birds before they actually designed the first airplane. If not for these lovely creatures, I don't think we today would have the privilege to actually fly from one country to another, making it easy for us to actually, you know, have the connection that we have, or like network, or even develop things that we today are privileged to have. Connection to life, and perhaps, which this is most importantly, birds remind us of our place within the web of life. They are not separate from us. They breathe the same air, they drink the same water, and inhabit the same planet. Their health is a measure of the health of the world we share. When we protect birds, we protect nature. When we protect nature, we protect ourselves. With this note, I want to bring our session to a close with a very warm thank you to each one of you. First and foremost, a heartfelt thank you to the Rotaract Club of Bengaluru, Nava, Chaitanya, for this wonderful opportunity. Your commitment to community engagement, environment analysis, awareness, and meaningful dialogue is truly inspiring. It is a privilege to have been invited to speak to such an enthusiastic and engaged audience. A very special thank you to each and every one of you who joined today's session. Whether you have been birding for years, or this is the very first time you have thought seriously about birds, your presence and your attention mean a great deal. I hope that today's session has given you a new sense of wonder about the birds around you. If even one of you from here goes back to seeing birds with a different view, I feel an accomplishment with actually having delivered this particular session. As a parting thought, you don't have to be a wildlife biologist to make a difference. Every time you choose to plant a native tree in your garden, reduce the pesticide use, reduce wildlife crime, or simply stop and listen to a bird singing, you're contributing to conservation. The birds are singing out there right now as we speak. All we need to do is listen, guys. So thank you. Now I think I will take up questions. We have, I mean, of course, we have 15 minutes, but I think we can extend if all of you are okay to listen, ask questions, and extend if any of you do have. So I would love to hear
Yeah.
what is on
We
your minds.
request, we request everyone to unmute yourselves and you can just ask the questions whichever you have. And also please use the chat box so that you can drop your queries there. Madhushri, I had a question for you.
Yes.
I heard that parrots would like to eat chilies. I mean, like green chilies. It's their favorite. One of my sister was just telling that parrots will love to eat green chilies,
Yeah.
but human will not like to eat chilies because we feel that two birds don't like it, or how it works for them. How the taste bits work for them is my question.
Okay. So, yeah, parrots, they do love eating chilies. That's because they lack something called as the pain receptors, that make, the feeling of tasting chilies absent in them, and which is why they do not have, that burning sensation that we experience, and they
Thank you.
enjoy them as nutritious, tasty snack. And this in turn, of course, So while they're actually eating this in turn helps dispersing of those chili seeds, and eventually we have more chili plants.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Others, if you have any questions, please unmute yourself.
Okay. I mean,
Okay. If there is no questions, I would like to request everyone to turn on your camera so that we can take a quick group picture.